Quincy, I see you trying to show off your Chrome Hearts hat.
Oh my God.
What's your issue with it, Trey?
Nothing. I mean, he's just trying to flex. That's all, bro.
I turned my hat to the back, bro.
Episode 2, Young Man in the 3, Mr. Murphy back in New Orleans. Quincy, are you in LA?
Yes.
We have a great episode coming up. We got Joakim Noah, who's joined the family, and our friend Kenny Beecham, which we taped in Chicago. We'll be back doing more stuff with Trey in person next week. Quincy, we obviously, we had President Obama on for the first episode, so we couldn't have you. But you were the call for episode 2. Before we start, I know Trey's got a bunch of questions, and we're going to get to a draft in a little bit. Can you tell your favorite Trey story for the audience?
I think my favorite Trey story might be when we were freshmen in college. I was a freshman in college, and we used to play. I used to play 2K with some of the other people on the team, and he didn't have a PlayStation. He was an Xbox dweeb, so he would play on Chris Mullin's PlayStation, and it was a few times that he would talk about Chris Mullin's my player, and Chris would threaten him to get off the game because he would say, "Don't disrespect my stuff because you don't even have a PlayStation," and Trey would have to be quiet and take back his comments. I think that's my most favorite story I would like to describe publicly.
Can I say my favorite story about Quincy?
Don't start, bro.
Please, this is your show.
Don't start, bro, please.
I think my favorite Quincy story, now that he's okay and doing fine, is probably that he got hit by...
you better not.
It's probably that he got hit by a car. So it starts off on his Snapchat story. He's in Hawaii riding his bike, and he has a video of him riding his bike. He's panning around like Hawaii and stuff like that. And then like the next Snapchat story is him. Okay, thank you, Quincy. We appreciate you. Thank you, bro. The next video is of him in the ambulance with a busted lip, shoulder bruised, like all that. And like for some reason he called me probably like after he called his mom, he probably called me next and told me everything. And I was like, I'm glad you're okay. Bro, that is hilarious. Only you would get hit by a car while riding on a bike. So, yeah, that's probably my favorite Quincy story.
That's on me, coach.
Is there any backstory? Is there any context that we're missing in this story, Quincy?
Not at all. I was in Hawaii. I was leaving a workout at a park. I was crossing the street in the crosswalk. Car ran through the stop sign, hit me. I destroyed the windshield, dented the hood, and I just had to get 15 stitches in my shoulder.
Warrior. I think we want to talk a little about the last, month for you. Obviously, a lot's been going on. Can you reflect just like what your last 3 weeks have been like now that you've had a little bit of space from it? Just some of your favorite moments and just even on a macro grand scale, how you feel about everything now.
Last 3 weeks have been amazing, a blessing, just a snapshot of what hard work does. Obviously, I think my favorite moment goes without saying, me and Steph. That's been my favorite player for a long, long time, since 6th grade. Especially, it was right after he scored 54 in the Garden, and that was when it became apparent that that was going to be my favorite player. But I mean, being accepted from all the guys. I mean, I told D'Lo that after the game in Milwaukee, that one of the coolest things about this whole experience is that everybody on the team, they like me, they accept me. Like, it's not like here comes this guy, or here comes the Rook. It's like, oh, what up, Q? Like, letting me ask questions, bringing me in to work with them after practice, and like D'Lo invites me over to his house, and Jackson Hayes, like guys like that on the team who accept me being a rookie and take me under their wing. I think it's pretty cool because Jackson looked out for me. He bought me one of those case clubs, the thing that you put your PlayStation in that you travel with. It was like $800. And he had sent me the link for it because I was thinking about buying it. And after he sent me the link, he sent me the screenshot of him buying it. It was like, this is for being a good rook. So that was a cool moment too. But I don't even know what to say. it's in the past. Honestly, I've just tried to change my focus to being ready for whenever the Lakers need me, or like this week being in G League training camp, just making sure that I'm as focused as can be, because each moment is an opportunity to continue to develop in my career.
Before you start, Tommy, there's two things I want to address. One thing that used to be like, I saw you kind of smirk a little bit when you said Jackson, telling him like, way to be a good rook. So Jackson was in year 3, my rookie year, and there were a few times where he would be like, "Yo, like rook," like I'm like, "Bro, we're the same age, bro. Like I understand you've been in the league for a little bit longer than I have, but like I can't allow the rook stuff. We can't be going like that. Like you could be like, bro, like you the same age as me. I can't really go for that. Like that's some of the things that happens in the NBA because it's so crazy. Like dudes come to the league 18 years old, like Brandon Ingram. He's 27 now and he's in year 9. Like that's insane. Me and him are 3 years apart, and I'm going to my 4th year. He's going into year 9. And then second thing too, when we went to Golden State, I saw Steph and I told him, I was like, "Yo, bro, like for real, like thank you for talking to Quincy, all that stuff. Like Quincy's one of my best friends. Like it means a lot." And it's a funny thing that he said. He was like, "Yeah, like it's dope that he actually like told me and like spoke up about it because a lot of guys won't say anything." In the back of my head, I was like, I'm one of them guys. I'm not going to tell him. Like, I'm not going to tell him that. But obviously, like, yeah, we all look at the stuff. Like, if I'm being honest with you, but it was super cool that he's been really down to earth about that, because Steph also took a picture with one of my friend's kids at a summer league one time, and he don't have to do that, but it's just him being like a good dude really shows that.
I was going to ask. I mean, sort of to that point, Quincy, it's like part of, I feel like what made your story blow up and just like you sort of have this moment was how relatable it feels like, even for just like random fans and for people that don't know you or didn't know anything about you. And I'm wondering if, people wrote about this, but I'm wondering if you could sort of like briefly tell the audience about like your journey, obviously getting here, even through college. And then the thing I'm very curious about is just like, everyone has doubts. But did you ever have a moment where you were like, this isn't happening?
Yeah, my journey from college was freshman, coming into Rice, thinking that my freshman year I could change the program. Honestly speaking, I was thinking like that because we were already losing, and I was like, I'm gonna be the answer. Like it's not like we recruiting a number one recruit. Like they taking a chance on me. I'm just going and show that I work hard and take the program over in my freshman year. And that was obviously not the case.
This was my program that he's talking about. First of all, let me make sure we explain that.
Your program is crazy when I'm the one who graduated, but we ain't.
That was at the time.
Don't interrupt me while I'm
that
talking.
Was my program.
Don't interrupt me while I'm talking, bro.
This is my show, bro.
Don't interrupt me while I'm talking.
This is my show.
I am the guest, though. So, like I said, then going into my sophomore year, it was COVID, and I was a little heartbroken when Trey Murphy entered the transfer portal. I remember being in my room with the door closed because we took a language class together, and he let me know that he was leaving, and it was a strike to the heart. But that summer, I just said, well, Trey leaving, Drew leaving, Josh Parrish leaving. It's no other choice. Like I have to work hard to prove that I'm the guy. And I just put in a lot of work that summer. And my sophomore year, I took a leap. Going into my junior year, I was very confident, thinking that would be my last year in college. And then I faced a lot of adversity, sprained my wrist right before the season, and then I broke the same wrist 4 months later or whatever, and just kind of taking a step back to reevaluate my ego and attack basketball from a different perspective, which was the coaching side, being sidelined and having an understanding of the game and the mental side. And then senior year, just being so anxious to get back on the court, took advantage of that, thinking that I would not go back to college after that. I graduated and I transferred to Xavier, wanting to play on a bigger level, show that everything I was doing at Rice was something that I can do at the next level. And I did that plus some to put myself in position to be here. But I would just say it's always been hard work and just belief that I can do things that people might not think I can do.
I just like that you walked onto Trey's team and you're like, this is about to be my team.
No, literally, bro. I was like, bro, you want to know what's crazy? And my dad can vouch. My mom can vouch. I came to one of them games. I was watching one of them games. I was like, I can take dude's spot. Obviously, he ended up being my best friend, which is crazy. But I was like, I can take this weak, cinnamon stick looking dude. I can take his spot, bro. Like, he not checking me. Obviously, that's what everybody gonna think. It was only because, like,
yo, who's admin of this Zoom call? Can you put him on like a 5-minute timeout or something like that?
I would recommend anybody listening to this podcast who's not watching it, watch this section just to see Trey's face. That's all I will say. Is sometimes video you don't need. I think you need video for this particular section.
Nah, but it was cool though. I stayed in the gym with him. It was just more like a thing that I always do I just kind of challenge myself with people that I think want the same things as me and always just try to compete with themselves internally to continue to chase something else. So I knew Trey wanted to go to the NBA just off first interaction, and then after that, once I got there to campus after the visit and stuff, just always trying to be around him and just be like, okay, well, this dude want to make it to the NBA. Well, so do I. So if he think he can do it, then I might as well hang around, and whatever he do, we gonna do. So if we make it, then we both did it right. If he make it and I don't, then I can be like, well, I did everything I could, and that was really the approach.
Has there been a part about being a Laker in particular that you've enjoyed the most?
Living out in LA. You know, it's a great appreciation being around greatness like LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You know, a lot of knowledge around the facility and being with those guys. But, you know, I'm not really too big into anything else. I like to play the video game and I like to talk to my friends. So, you know, being a Laker is fun being out in LA, but I still got to take care of business at the end of the day.
What has been probably the most important thing that happened for you when basketball-wise, we could say that could be even present time or even from high school, middle school, because a lot of times, like, we have our defining moments that we never forget, and it helps, you know, fuel us to, you know, do what we do now in that sort of capacity.
I would say breaking my wrist, being able to realize that I needed to take a step back from basketball and learn and grow as a man, not only a athlete, because the game is so much bigger than scoring, and being able to affect the game outside of just putting the ball in the hoop is something that a guy like me who is 6'2" can take, because when I get to the NBA, or when I was thinking when I get to the NBA, I'm not just going to be the main scorer. I'm going to have to be able to affect the game. So watching the game and knowing that you have to watch a lot of film, and it's a lot that goes into the process of being ready for a game and having an appreciation for that. And then most importantly, just having an appreciation for every time I'm able to step out on the floor to give it everything I got, because it could always be my last time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an important one. And I think probably like the other follow-up that I'll go with is, like me, I was in the transfer portal. How was that process for, you know, viewers that don't know about the transfer portal? And, you know, I was with you a little bit during that time. Like, just, you know, explain all of it, like all the emotions and, you know, different thought processes that you have, you know, going through the transfer portal.
It was eye-opening, because I didn't know that many people knew who I was in college. Like, I remember when I got in there, I expected UGA to call just because that's home. But Bruce Pearl calling my phone, or Eric Musselman calling right before their game against UConn, just a lot of coaches that you see on TV or hear about on ESPN, they had my number like immediately. And I think that caught me off guard at first. And then going about that whole process of making sure that it's a Zoom meeting here, Zoom meeting in 2 hours, Zoom meeting tomorrow, and they want to set me up for a visit, just trying to organize all that and having it on a notepad, taking notes. It got overwhelming after a while. And it gets to a point where you just want to sit down and have quiet time away from everybody so you can make a decision. That's honestly what I did. I remember telling my mom just to kind of leave me alone for a couple of days and just let me be in silence, to go over my notes, my pros and cons list. And eventually, after praying over it and taking my time, I felt like I made the right decision.
Yeah, no, I probably had a pretty similar thought process with the transfer portal. Like, I knew when I entered, I was going to have like a good amount of coaches calling me, but like I'll tell you this too, like for people that don't know, when you first enter the portal, you get calls from schools where you're just like, nah, no way I'm at this level. Like, I was And I'm going to just tell this story, and there's no disrespect to any schools that I'm talking about right now. Let me make sure I say that right now. But my dad, I remember we were in the living room, and it was like me, my mom, my trainer, and like my uncle or something like that. My dad walked in, and he just got the phone. He was like, "Oh, Trey, guess what? UNC called." And I was like, "Oh, that's great." And he said, "G." And I was like, "Bro, like that's like what we doing here? Like why? Like if y'all don't know as well, my dad is one of the biggest trolls. Like
I was gonna say, why did he set you up like that?
That's my dad. That is literally my dad. He's one of the biggest trolls ever. And like I just said, no disrespect to UNCG. Like I want to say Wes Miller was the coach at the time. He was phenomenal coach, and he also recruited a little bit.
Great program.
Exactly. And so, but I grew up a UNC fan my entire life. Like that would have been my dream school, but they didn't recruit me. So,
do y'all think if you were freshman right now, you would do anything specifically different?
What do you mean?
We probably would hang out more. Right? We probably would have been like roommates or something, but we were roommates on the road. But I don't really know if there was much else we could do. We played the game together.
I forgot we were roommates on the road too.
Hey, and then side note, I had to kick him to the curb because bro started snoring out of nowhere. Like it was just like a random road trip. He just started snoring. And I was like, bro, at this point, I was also like starting to play a little bit. So it mattered that I went to sleep. And I'm like, I got to go. But we were roommates on the road. We used to go to study hall together. We would go to Potbelly together, get the pizza melt, pizza sandwich, no mushrooms. We
made some TikToks on the road as well. I forgot about that.
We did a lot of stuff together. It's just the only thing we really didn't do was be roommates on campus.
Yeah.
I actually have a question about that with like everything different with NIL and everything. Are they still going to have to? You still going to have to like room with people on the road? Because if that feels like you could be at a competitive disadvantage. Like just straight up with like shit like that. Like snoring will keep you up. Like if you got a big game the next day and you got Trey snoring like crazy, and you're playing whoever on national TV and you can't sleep because of that. Like you think coming into this, they would give people their own room.
Let me also say he's not innocent either. There's times he would fall asleep before me. And the way my method was I would throw the pillow against the wall. He would stop for a second, and I probably had about 10 minutes to go to sleep before he would start snoring again.
Truth be told, it got to a point like at my sophomore year and on where if I had a problem, Coach Perry would take care of me and I would have my own room. But I wasn't at that level my freshman year.
Are those improper benefits?
I was going to say. Someone just
no.
A snitching.
No, it is not. It's not improper benefit. I just needed sleep.
Thanks to Quincy for joining us for the intro. We'll get back to him for the draft in a little bit. Here's our interview we taped in Chicago this past Wednesday with Kenny Beecham and newest member of the YM3 OM3 family, Joakim Noah. All right, guys. The beautiful city of Chicago. We have the newest member of the YM3, OM3, now the wise man in the three family, Mr. Joakim Noah.
What's up, guys?
And our old friend who graciously graces with our presence, Mr. Kenny Beecham.
Nice to be here, man.
How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Get to be my guy, Joakim, for the first time, which is pretty dope.
So we were talking about this before, Kenny, but I think giving Joe a little bit of what this means to you, just being here right now, I think would be helpful and sort of set the scene for him. I didn't want to step on it with
for sure.
You.
I don't know. It feels kind of weird to say because you're here, but like if it wasn't for you and Derrick, I don't think I'm in the sports media world at all. Like you can go back as far as history goes, as far as my content. When people ask me who's my favorite center of all time, your name comes up as number one. So this is pretty dope. So when Tommy hit me, I'm like, I got to be there regardless. I took the daughter to the grandparents' house. Like this is the moment for me. So appreciate it.
You.
Yeah,
appreciate you, brother. It's cool to be here and doing it. I never had to do content like this before. So, help me out.
And we even shot around before we started. And like to have you rebound my 4 misses was pretty dope, man. I ain't gonna lie. It was pretty dope.
I'm curious, before we get into some of the current NBA stuff, which we have a lot to hit on, I'm curious with both you guys, because your perspectives on this are very different, but just the city of Chicago overall. I mean, Kenny, obviously you grew up here, you lived here your whole life. Joe, I'm not even exaggerating this, and we'll get into this today and later on in the season. Joe's been about as impactful of a not even just pro athlete, like a statesman in the city as there's been, as long as I've been alive, and so I'm just thinking about like the city, the Bulls specifically, but just the city of Chicago overall and just what it means to you. Because I feel like that's something where you guys have really both, lived it.
Yeah, I mean, you can go, Joe.
For me personally, being able to play basketball here for 10 years was some of the most special times in my life. Getting to wear that, represent that logo, represent this city, and now have a foundation where we're doing work with the youth. And being able to still be a part of that is something that means a lot to me. And the city gave me so much, some of the best moments, being able to share the court with guys like Derrick, but also being able to do work with guys like Kobe Williams and, having our basketball league, one city going. And, look, we haven't played here in 10 years and it's still going on, and building a sustainable model is something that I'm really proud of.
Do you want to tell Kenny a little bit about just all the stuff you and Kobe are doing, and then also just sort of the goal of the league? Because I remember we've talked about it with Matt obviously a bunch, but like it's a really special group, and it's very special and unique to the sort of intricacies of the city. And I feel like just both with Kenny, but then even just who knows, watching at home, listening at home, might want to try to get involved.
Well, we started a basketball league. It's a peace league. We're working with 28 violence prevention groups. Just that in itself is something that's really special. It's never really been done like that before. And to be able to have the championship games here as well at 167 Green is really special. I think it incentivizes the guys. We also pay our participants to be a part of it. So I think that guys are really excited to be a part of it. We have 500 participants. It's on the south side, on the west side of Chicago, and we're building. We want to build a girls' league as well, and hopefully, take this in other cities.
How would you describe violence? Like, what would your definition of this be to someone who's not familiar? And I would strongly recommend everybody watch The Interrupters, the documentary that came out in 2012, the amazing documentary that tells all about the work that Kobe and his partners have worked on. But how would you describe the goals of the organization and what got you and then eventually Derrick as well involved in it?
Well, for me personally, it was watching that documentary on the violence in Chicago. When you play for the Chicago Bulls, you are an ambassador for the city. And when I saw the documentary, we ended up connecting really quickly, ended up going to certain playgrounds around the city, and our relationship just grew with Kobe very organically. And it turned into going to St. Sabina at a church and having guys from different sections of the town, guys who usually would not be on the same page, where there would maybe be violence, and being able to have them connect in the gym. Obviously, this league is a lot more than just basketball. This is much bigger than basketball. This is about connecting people, having the real conversations. And it's something that I'm really proud of.
Kenny, what about the city? And I want to get some Bull stuff from you, but what about the city do you feel like has been, if you were the exact same dude, but you grew up, I don't want to like name a random city to dump on it, but you grew up in Salt Lake City. Right. You know what I mean? Like how would you be different?
Chicago has so much culture, man. It's hard to even describe unless you're really here. You can tell that Chicago is special because if you walk down the street and you ask 10 random people what's their favorite sports team, they're going to say a Chicago team. And I feel like a lot of other places you have displaced fans where it's like, I might be a Jazz fan, but I live in Florida or something like that. Chicago is Chicago. And the Bulls, the White Sox, the Bears, the Cubs, the Sky, all of those teams, we feel like a huge family. Well, not White Sox and Cubs, but you get what I'm saying. We feel like a huge family, which is pretty cool. When the city is buzzing, most of that is because a sports team is really taking off. And that's really cool. Even right now, even though we don't have the perfect record, like Caleb Williams being in Chicago has the Bears buzzing again. And that's all we really care about.
Do you have any thoughts on the end of that game?
I don't.
Sunday?
No. You know what? I've gone through a lot of heartbreak as a fan of teams. That one hit deeper than, it was only one that I would say was bigger than that. That was against the 76ers. And you know what year I'm talking about. This one was tough, man. Cause that was a game we should have won, but I ain't going into it too much.
As a Bulls historian, I would say the preeminent Bulls historian, what are you curious about from him? Your first time meeting him, like what would you be asking right now if we weren't taping it?
I feel like a lot of people ask like about the leadership role during that era, with Derrick being such a like, I won't use the word timid, but he's soft spoken and so on and so forth. You being more of a vocal type of guy. A lot of people ask like the MVP of the league, should he be the vocal leader of the team? What is like your take on that?
I think it's, first of all, it's understanding and knowing Derrick. You know, he was such a special player. He's somebody who, when he walked into the gym, even though he was quiet, it spoke volumes. Mm-hmm. You know, the hope that he carried, not just for us as his teammates, but the whole city.
Yeah.
And obviously it's complicated and it's hard to articulate the pain that's in the city and what he had to go through coming up. And, you know, from the outside coming in, I felt like I had to be the voice of that for him a little bit. I'm just like really, a lot of people think that Derrick was like this real humble dude. You know, he had a real presence about him, and he was somebody who really believed in his abilities more than anybody. When I think of Derrick, I think about before he got the MVP, and we're in media, and it's media day, and he says, "Why can't I be MVP?" When I think of that moment is the laughing in the background from all the journalists. Nobody believed that he could be the youngest MVP ever. He called it, and it just shows like his belief in himself.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever asked you this. At what point in your guys' relationship do you feel like you knew this? I mean, you've been around winning your whole life, and then obviously winning in basketball in college, you know, and so this was not a new experience to sort of, you know, be in a place where you're trying to judge this. At what point were you like, was it his first playoff series? Like when you were like, oh yeah, this dude is just different?
We knew he was unique from the start, just because he was painfully shy. We knew it was different because of what he represented for the city. I think that our relationship really grew not on the basketball court. It was really when he got hurt. It was like, I think that was where he got a lot of attention. He had just got MVP, just signed his big Adidas deal, just signed the Bulls deal. But I think that was also, after the injury, that was a really lonely time for him. So being able to be there with him during that time, that's really when our relationship grew.
Can I ask you about the All-NBA season for you? Like the shift, because in that year, if I'm not mistaken, there's a year after Derrick got injured. So he came back, he played like 10 or so games. There had to be a shift in the locker room once he goes down again, and for y'all to still be as great as y'all were. What was that? Was that coaching? Was that the people buying in? I mean, obviously it was a really good team to still be that talented and win a bunch of games.
That's a good question, because for me personally, I was a guy who used to like to get defensive rebounds and bring the ball up the court. Mm-hmm. But you're playing with the fastest guy with the ball, right, with his hands in the world. So I remember early on, I was also getting the defensive rebound and turning it over with the game on the line. I remember losing a game to Boston and bringing the ball up the court. KG back tips the ball. We lose the game. The next day on a back-to-back, we play San Antonio. The same thing happens. 2 games in a row, I lose the game because I'm a center bringing the ball up the court. But you know what? Pooh never judged me, and he always had my back, even in those tough moments. And I think that when a lot of my success came also when I had the ball in my hands when Derrick was gone. So that was my personal success of being able to be one of the, you know, top players. Mm-hmm. Being my all-star games was when I was able to have the ball in my hands more. But if in terms of like winning a championship, we weren't going anywhere. We weren't winning a championship without that guy at the realm.
We were talking the other day about the 2013 first round series against Brooklyn, where it was everybody was hurt. Everyone was fucked up in their own way. And even in ways that like weren't reported at the time or whatever it is. And it was literally like from the outside looking in, it's a game 7. We don't even know who's playing.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the middle of this. You can barely move, and you're howling on the court. And yet, obviously, you guys win that. I think you knew you're not winning a championship that year with that kind of like mash unit in the team, but like the culture that you had allowed you to win a playoff series, even though you had 6 healthy bodies. And so when you're thinking about, even when you're talking to the guys now, like establishing a culture that will allow you to be like, it doesn't matter who's out on the court, like we got a chance. What did you learn from that particular moment to allow you to sort of like move that forward?
I think for us, it was, next man up mentality. And that's Tibbs. When I look at the Knicks run last year, you see the same culture, you see the same philosophies, and that's all Tibbs. And I think that, cities like New York, cities like Chicago, they resonate with that kind of fight and that kind of fighting spirit. For me personally, that was a very special series, being able to play in front of my whole family at home in New York and Brooklyn and being able to win that playoff series. But in terms of sustainability, that's another question.
Did you have a favorite moment from the run?
I think so. I became an NBA fan in 2003. That was Jamal Crawford when he was on the Bulls. And the second basketball awakening was Derrick's rookie season when y'all played against, of course, the Boston Celtics. The steal and the dunk is like a moment that I've played 100 times in my house. So that was pretty cool. And there were so many years, because that's like my formative years. Like I'm an 8th grader through sophomore year of high school, where we're like, we got a chance to do it. Of course, you got the team in Florida that's doing their thing as well. But I always thought that like Derrick is here, Joe is here, Luau is here. We 100% got a chance. And y'all gave it y'all all too, man. That was one of the most stacked teams of all time. So I'll always I go back to rewatch those games. Like during, there's one random game that there's an account on YouTube that I feel like us uploaded every single game in NBA history. So it's like a 2010 game. It's, you guys still have John Salmon on the team. And I'm watching him take pull-up mid-range. I think this might have been your rookie season or so, or something like that. And I could just watch those games over and over again. Cause, since that era, the Bulls haven't had a ton of success. So it's like, it's going back to like my golden years, because I wasn't here for the 90s, basically. So it's pretty
Respect,
cool.
bro.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
09, we were talking about this the other day. The 09 series was like, it's a first round series.
Yeah.
So it's hard when you're ranking Pantheon a playoff series ever. But every game was nuts. The game 6 was, Ray Allen was just sniping from everywhere.
Yeah.
It still hurts. It still hurts. But it's interesting, because I remember we lose that game 7, and I remember going to some breakfast spot out here, and the whole breakfast spot just stood up when we walked in and just started clapping. That's the kind of, people were so proud of that team, even though we lost that series. And still to this day, like I'm 40 years old. This was 10 plus years ago. And people still talk about that series. Because it really resonated with the city. I think the fighting spirit, obviously all the thrillers of playing in the overtimes and all that. But yeah, it was that series definitely set the tone for our careers for sure.
When you're talking about the next man up stuff, Tibbs in particular, but even just like in general, the other coaches around the league who instill that, are there characteristics in a player that you can spot right away? Not even just in their game, but just as a person that you feel like, everyone's different, but they all have in common?
I mean, I think what you're looking for as a coach is you just want competitors, and a lot of times coaches feel like it's on them to bring that out of the player. No, that's in you. So, I was talking about that actually yesterday with Coach Donovan. It was like, for him, it's like, when I was recruiting in college, I was having a hard time because like not all my guys were as competitive as me. And it was on him to find the guys who have that competitive spirit. It's in your DNA. It's not supposed to come from your coach. That competitive spirit is in your DNA.
You feel like just as your analysis of the league, that's a thing that you are looking for as well?
100%. 100%. Like even now with the New York Knicks that we mentioned, like I saw it in Deuce McBride very early on, that anytime he got minutes, we talk about like garbage time minutes in his rookie season. Like that guy cares enough, and eventually he'll make a name for himself to make in a rotation. I didn't think he was going to be this good this early on, but like I saw it very early on. So I agree with you. I think that's really in the players. Like the coaches can only do so much. The players have to want it to.
Do you guys have just like thinking about this, like, do you have a maybe top 5, say top 5 for now. Do you have a list of like guys like that in the league? They're not the best 5 players in the league, but just the dogs, the people that you want to go to battle with, that you got 6 players on your roster, right? And you're in a game 7 and you're like, they're showing up. Do you have that right now?
One of the first things that came to mind was Alex Caruso, who was here. And even though we weren't winning a ton of games, he stood out more than anybody, diving on the floor for loose balls, making the extra pass, pretty much everything you want in someone that's not a star. Now he's in OKC, and I think he's going to compete for a championship. He's one of the first things that came to mind.
Just like you said, I think Deuce McBride, even guys, but that's more for now. But when I was playing with a guy like Kirk Heinrich, he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. But these are guys that are picking up full court. Mm-hmm. It's not your coach telling you, oh, I need to pick up full court. He's doing that all season long. That's a tough job. And being able to turn somebody in the backcourt a couple times, that takes, 6-7 seconds off the shot clock. Now you're at 15 before you're even in the half court because of effort. Mm-hmm. So I think that it sets the tone for your defense. And as a big man, that's all you can ask for. You're kind of the last man backs. You're the one who's kind of calling everything out, calling out the defense, calling out the pick and roll. But when you have somebody playing with that kind of effort, it just makes your life that much easier.
So as a little housekeeping note, Joe's going to be on the show and on the channel. We're very, very excited to announce he's going to be on every Monday from here on out. And I think what we're going to do is do a version of what we did with Three Things, obviously with JJ, where we're just going to run through 3 sort of current NBA topics, and they will expand off of that as they see fit. But we also want to sort of like stick to that format to make sure that, everybody watching and listening at home can chime in with their questions and thoughts. I wanted to start with both you guys with Paolo. Yeah. Joe's obviously, very close to him personally. He's been going crazy. We were at the game opening night in Miami where he had 33 on it seemed like 5 shots. Mm-hmm. And he has not slowed down. He had 50 the other night, 37, tied a team record, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 threes. What were your like initial thoughts? Kenny was going crazy on Twitter, I saw, but like what were your initial thoughts watching that? And then as we're looking forward with him in particular, what do you guys think?
First of all, when you see Paolo, I was able to sit courtside that game next to the Magic bench. And I was with Mike Miller. Shout out to Mike Miller I don't even remember the last time I sat courtside watching a basketball game. I couldn't, Paolo he was bigger than, he's like a 5. Mm-hmm. And, he got handled like a point guard. He moves very comfortable on the wing. But somebody who can just do it all. And I think that he's just getting more and more comfortable in his role. I think being able to play in the playoffs last year, definitely playing in the playoffs early in your career really sets the tone. And I think he went into the summer, worked his ass off, and he's having a hell of a start.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things is that early playoff success, making there in year number 2, they asked him, what is the expectation this year? And he said, we want to win a championship. And you think about them being the 3rd youngest team in basketball, that's absurd for them to try to be competing for a ring. But you can tell that he put the time in this offseason in order to try to make that a reality. Like, he's always been a dude that's going to be bigger than his opponent, faster than his opponent, quicker than his opponent. But this year, what stands out is that he's using his strength more than anything. If you put somebody on him that's 20 pounds lighter than him, 2 inches shorter than him, he's just going to go into their chest. And now he's getting to the free throw line more too. He's one of those dudes that is almost an impossible cover, that when he misses, it's not because of your defense. He just happened to miss the shot because he's too big for the other defenders that are his size. He's too fast for those dudes. He's too big for the 6'5" guys. So what are you supposed to do? So when he came out and had 37 points in the first half, I mean, a lot of the times Rick Carlisle was really just having him in single coverage. And it's like Pascal Siakam got a lot of respect for him. He can't hold his own against Paolo Banchero defensively. And then they put the smaller defender on him, Aaron Nesmith. He can't do that. And then finally, when they slowed him down, they just kept sending two bodies at him. And guess what? He's an improved playmaker now. So that's how he ends up with the, 9 assists or so. So right now, he's on a trajectory to be one of the best players in the league. And he might be an all-NBA player in year 3, which is crazy.
If you have that matchup tomorrow night or tonight, they're playing the Bulls tonight. What's your approach when there's somebody like Kenny mentioned with that level of size and skill? Well,
it's easy to talk about this from the couch. Now that I'm done playing, but for me personally, what I would do, first of all, I would try to run as much as I could. So obviously I'm not a player who was going to get the ball all the time, but what I could do is sprint as much as I can up and down the court to make him tired. I don't want him comfortable, and I would treat him the same way that I would treat a pick and roll and coming off when I'm guarding LeBron or if I'm guarding a Carmelo or something like that. So try to get him off the 3-point line and make him shoot contested twos. A lot easier said than done. I mean, seeing Paolo play, he was bigger than Bam.
Yeah.
He's bigger than Bam. So also what people really underestimate is the chemistry piece. He is building real chemistry with his teammates. I'm seeing like he's getting high lows. He's getting a lot of action. So for me personally, guarding him though, I want him shooting contested twos.
I was gonna ask both you guys about you mentioned the chemistry piece. The rest of that team, Jalen Suggs has been shooting great to start the year. Yep. Anthony Black, they were hyping up the other night, hit a bunch of big shots. It feels like the way they built the team is basically like they all defend 1 through 8 or 9, like not just starting 5. They all defend. And then they're kind of like, Paolo, do your thing. Mm-hmm. And if they're hitting threes, to Kenny's point, I don't know if they're winning a championship, but it is a very tough team in the East. And as we sort of like analyze them over the next month, I'm just sort of curious where you guys, what you think the sort of next step is for them in terms of, their growth to really be in a conversation of like, okay, we're talking about them in a top 2 or 3 position in the East.
Yeah, I think it's, believe it or not, going to get easier because right now they're still being guarded as the team that shot poorly from 3 last year. Like Anthony Black is basically not getting contests when he's open in the corner and so on and so forth. And I think it opens up the game more once those players not just become good 3-point shooters, but become respected 3-point shooters. Again, Paolo, I'm a stats guy. Y'all know I'm a stats guy. If you look at his spacing stats, he's still playing as if, it was last year, and they have dramatically better shooters. Even KCP, who hasn't been able to shoot efficiently just yet, we know he's a 40% 3-point shooter. I think the next thing for them to get to that championship contention is for them to keep putting their head down and continue to work on their individual games. Because this core of him, Wagner, Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black, and then Wendell, that's a core that I think could compete eventually as Paolo continues to get better.
And look, and Orlando's huge, man. They're a lot bigger than Miami. And, you look at Suggs, like I'm not a big stats guy, yeah, but just emotionally what he brings to the table, he's somebody who really wants to win. He's a competitor and he sets the tone with his defense. And now that he's hitting threes, Black is hitting threes, I think this is what the next step is for this team. And it's going to make everybody better around them.
Well, and then KCP, who just seems like he wins in LA.
Yeah.
They, for whatever reason, let him walk, goes to Denver, he wins there. And now you put him, sometimes you just have guys like we were talking before about guys you want when it gets to May and June, you want them around. And he feels like he fits that.
For sure.
Feels like he fits that mold.
Yeah, he has that experience, that championship mentality, that championship attitude. There's no denying KCP has had that.
Yeah. So
being on a young team and being able to have somebody who's been through that, I think it speaks volumes.
I think the next topic, we've all sort of individually talked about a bunch, 2 Western Conference teams. First, we got to touch on our boy in the Lakers and what's going on there. And then I want to get to the Thunder.
Yeah.
afterwards who feel like not sneaky. It's, but they are a title contender for sure. Obviously undefeated as we're taping this, but like, let's do Lakers first, just because we gotta.
Yeah.
Everyone on the show and channel is already accusing us of being biased, but like, I don't know what to say.
You have to be biased. It's the guy.
So what were your guys' initial thoughts?
It's pretty cool to watch, man. I mean, at one point in time, Anthony Davis was widely known as a top 5 player in the league, like his last year in New Orleans. And then he got to the Lakers. Of course, they win that championship that first season. But he's always just kind of teetered around top 10. Him and Bron both top 10. Now he's back to looking like top 5. And I think a lot of that has to do with JJ empowering him to basically be the focal point of the offense, where the action is ran through him more than it's ran through Bron at this point, which is crazy to think about when you think about Bron. He said that he wanted to empower Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves having the best year of his career. Rui Hachimura. Like, JJ had goals, and for the most part, he's come through with all of them, except for the 3-pointers. I don't know if you talked to JJ about it, because they're still bottom of the league in 3-point attempts. But other than that, he's doing a phenomenal job.
No, it's really beautiful to see. And, when I think of the Lakers in the beginning of the year and people's attitude towards the Lakers, I think people really thought it was going to be a zoo and it's going to be a shit show with the Bronny and Bron situation. And I think JJ really set the tone in his first 4 games. It's like really beautiful to see. I see videos of the head coach like doing rebounding drills and getting in there. I think that's the kind of energy that you expect from somebody like JJ, and he take it seriously. Like, okay, they win their first 3 games. You know how it is when you're playing in the big market. They're already comparing the guy to Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, but then, okay, you lose a game. He takes the accountability. He looks like he's taking it serious. And I think that in his first month of coaching, he's really showing that, he wanted to set the tone, and he really did that.
I saw, we've talked about it, but a couple weeks ago you did Matt and Stacks pod, and you gave Bron just his flowers in general for everything he's accomplished. But since that has happened, obviously they've had a great start. He had that crazy fourth quarter, the 16 points in the fourth, the 21-0 run. At a certain point, as you're just putting everything in perspective, having the battles you've had against this guy for so long, and then we sit here in 24 with, like, when do you just shake your head and be like, bro, like, it's one thing to still be playing. It's another thing to do that.
Yeah. To be dominant at 40 years old is pretty crazy. I mean, I can barely walk to the bathroom, and this guy's still dominating. It speaks volumes on how serious he takes it, and you got to give LeBron his flowers. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like I said, my first year was 2002, 2003, which is basically Bron's rookie season. So to see him still be playing now is crazy. Like, again, just not playing, but still being one of the top teams in the league, or top players in the league. And even though, as of today, the one loss that the Lakers had, he was sick and he scored 10 points. And it's like, I'm watching this game, and he's got the streak. It's 14,037 straight games with 10 plus points. And I'm like, I don't even care about the win. Can Bron hit a 3? I just want the streak to continue pretty much into the last day of his NBA career. And I've had my emotions go up and down with Bron, because at one point I absolutely hated him. I had no choice because I was here. And then eventually he went back home, and then I'm like, okay, I can root for him again. And since then, it's been pretty cool.
It is going to be weird for you when he eventually stops playing, just for your day-to-day life, analyzing this thing. You've never had this thing not be in your life.
Yeah, because he's never had an injury either. So every single year I've had to cover Bron, and eventually that won't be the case, but I don't even want to think about those days.
Want to hit the Thunder for a second? I had a stat I wanted to read to you guys. The best defensive rating in the NBA currently by 2-man lineup. Number 1, Alex Caruso and SGA. Number 2, Alex Caruso and Chet. Number 3, Cason Wallace and SGA.
Yeah.
Number 4, Cason Wallace and Lou Dort. It's 4 games, so it's hard to draw too much of a sample size, but it feels like it could be potentially a historic defense. They're not healthy yet either. They still have pieces to come back. Your guys' thoughts just on what we've seen so far with them?
Another one of those teams where everybody's just bought in defensively. Even the star player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, gets what feels like 100 poke away steals a game, and he's bought in to just sit down and play the necessary defense. And Chet Holmgren, as of today, looks like the DPOY, or like the first game of the season, he goes against the 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic, and they blow that team out, and they continue to blow teams out. Like, I think they've given up like 4 total points when Alex Caruso and him are on the court together. Like that's a crazy statistic. It's really one of those teams because, like you mentioned, they're not healthy. Chet is really the only 5-man on the entire roster right now. So he's doing like a matching the opposing starting center thing where if Jokic is in the game, so is Chet. And as soon as Jokic go to the bench, I get my rest. So Coach Mark Daigneault is doing a pretty damn good job of having everybody buy in.
Shout out Coach Mark. But like all those guys that you just mentioned, individually, great defensive players. Now you got continuity. You had those playoff games last year. Shout out to the brother Lou Dort, Haiti, Sakafet, he has a different kind of toughness to him, so, these are guys who get a lot of deflections and you can just tell as a team, they like each other. So on the defensive end, when it's like a vocal team like that and you got Chet who's, definitely taking that next step. And then you also got that big boy, Hartenstein, who's coming in. So they're not even fully healthy. It's going to be really interesting to see what this team looks like. They're dangerous.
We used to always talk with JJ. The word he loved using was connectivity on defense in particular, about just how that was always like the mark of a good defense, no matter who the personnel was. When you had that, when you think about every great defensive team you've been on, was that a constant there? And then if so, how do you develop that? Is that just playing? I mean, because these guys like Caruso just got there. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's like reps, like he's been playing with these guys for 3 years.
Yeah.
But he's able to fit in right away in a way that he's on that list twice already.
I think that these are things that you work on in practice every day. So the core of that group has been doing the same drills for a long time. I remember when we started practices with Tibbs, the first drill was, 5 guy shell defense. And it's building that connection together and, the language that you're supposed to use when there's a certain pick and rolls. And, these are things that we started practice with. It was annoying as hell. It was repetitive as hell. I hated it. But you know what? It helps you win ball games.
Do you have a constant when you look at a great defense, just visually what you see?
I love watching a good defensive big because I do believe regardless if you have great wing defenders, the center is like the focal point of it all because the easiest shot in basketball is a layup. So when I watch Chet Holmgren play, he also plays very well in space when he's stuck on an island with a ball handler. But when I watch him lock down the paint, it's a beautiful thing.
The last thing, sort of broadly, I know we'll hit some small things at the end. Last things I wanted to hit with you, Joe, in particular, and Kenny, I want your opinion on as well, just because we've talked about this a lot. There's been a lot in the last couple of days with Joel, obviously not playing yet. It's hard to tell what's even going on in terms of the PR of it all and everything like that, but he's obviously not playing. Kawhi, different injury, but similar situation where he's not back yet either. We just had a bunch of conversations about load management in general. And I don't want to step on what you're going to say. So I want to get your sort of like initial thoughts on it first. But I just think your perspective on this is about as interesting as it gets from a current or former player, because you've seen both sides of this and you've had so many injuries that you've played through that, maybe in retrospect, you wish you had treated differently. And so as you look at this and these guys, but as you look at this, at these situations, what's your sort of analysis? And what do you feel like fans should know the player perspective on this topic is?
Well, it's definitely a hot topic. I hear everybody talking about it and everybody's very passionate about it for obvious reasons. You're a fan, you pay for your tickets, you want to bring your family, and a star player might not be playing. I think we're talking about it because you think of a lot of the star players are starting the season with DNPs. We've never really seen that before. But I'm also a player whose career, ended shortly because I was playing through injuries. And I think you have to have an honest discussion with what's important, because when you think of Joel Embiid, look, he's playing he started the playoffs on one leg last year. That's very real. If the Sixers are serious about having an opportunity to win a championship, we have to have those conversations. And I think that sometimes the sentiment around this is that guys don't want to play in back-to-backs because it's hard. No. Like, you're talking about the most competitive athletes in the world. Like, trust me, Kawhi Leonard wants to be out there, and Joel Embiid wants to be out there. And it's just the workload is too much. Like, if he goes for MVP, he gets the MVP. Well, he's on one leg at the start of playoffs. That's a real question. As the owner of the Sixers, I'm having that conversation with my star player. What do we do to keep you healthy so that you're playing your best basketball in June? It's a real decision. There's no right or wrong answer. I can just speak from experience. Somebody who's had 7 surgeries, who's played through things that probably I had extra surgeries because I played through things. There's no right or wrong answer. If you want to win a championship, though, sacrifices have to be made.
Do you think that the communication, and I'm not talking about the player communication, I'm talking about the external team and or league communication, could be better sometimes on these issues where there's an understanding of like, oh, forgetting even just your point about which I personally think is extremely valid, of like, we're making a calculated decision of, we would rather have you out there on May 15th than November 15th, period. Like, that's just like, that matters more. The goal is to win a championship. The goal isn't to, entertain people in November. It's as messed up as it is because people are buying tickets, to your point. But I think the optics of it and like the PR of it and being like, okay, this is specifically what's wrong. You know what I mean? Not like if they get every single detail, but like, this is specifically what's wrong. And it's like, if I do this and I play this now, this is potentially what's going to happen, and this is potentially how it's going to get worse. Or forgetting HIPAA and all of that. Or there's sometimes where it's sort of like, if you're in that situation, you're like, you know what? We're going to have to eat it for a little bit. People are going to be mad, but we're making a business decision. We're making a.
I mean, we're talking about PR. We're talking about winning a championship, or are we talking about PR? Because those are two completely different things.
Yeah.
And the reality is, when you winning a championship, like, people forget the narrative. People forget what people went through. It's just who took that trophy and put it up at the end. People forget the storyline. And, there's a lot of sacrifices that goes into it. I understand the dilemma that the NBA is in, but it is, and every player is different. Every injury is different. But it's not going away. This problem is not going away. 82 games is a lot of games.
Yeah. What do you think, Kenny, from more of the fan perspective?
I mean, I would like to know more when so-and-so gets injured, but it also puts added pressure on that player and the medical staff to make it. If you say Kawhi Leonard is going to be out for 2 weeks, now the fan base believes that in 2 weeks he'll be back. And if he's not completely healthy in 2 weeks, now you're looking at your fan base like, I don't really know. So again, I would love to know more, but it's not my body to tell Kawhi to let us know if he'll be back in 3 weeks or not. So I just kind of take it day by day as a fan.
Yeah. What do you think topic wise? What else do you want to hit?
What do you think about this year's Bulls team? We've made some changes. DeMar is now in Sacramento, and so far we have the fastest pace in basketball, which is different for a Chicago team. And it seems like, again, Chicago's always been a defensive-oriented team, at least in our heydays. What do you think about it being more offensive/fast pace?
Well, I was able to see Coach Donovan yesterday, who was my coach when I was at UF, somebody that is like another father figure to me. I was able to go spend some time with them after practice and just hear him out. And he said that this preseason, he just killed them with the conditioning. This is not going to be a top defensive team, but overall, it's just, this is a team that's running and gunning. And that's Billy Donovan's style of play. He wants people to be in the best shape of their life. I think they worked really hard, and the guys also came together early in the summer to be able to do that. There's new guys who are taking leadership roles. I think DeMar being gone opened up a lot of opportunities. It's a lot more shots for guys as well. So I think guys are hungry to just go out there and just play their game. And you think of a guy like Vooch, for example, even though he's not somebody who's the fastest rim runner in the league, he's somebody, if everybody else is running around him, he's going to get those trail threes, and it's going to open up a lot of his game. So I'm excited to see what the Bulls do. I think it's going to be a little bit different. But it's definitely exciting to see. A run and gun style is always fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
We should also just shout out Lonzo.
Oh yeah,
he just. I mean, obviously he's out about for a week or so now, but just shout out. He's looked awesome too.
Yeah, it's one of the best stories ever. Honestly, I think they said no professional players ever come back from that specific surgery. So for him to do it after 1,000 days is pretty impressive. And yeah, the city loves him. I mean, when he first checked in a preseason game, it was amazing. And one of the main reasons I'm going to be going to a bunch of games this year is because of Lonzo.
Beautiful to see. I mean, to be able to come back from that, and also just to see how comfortable he was just back on the court.
Yeah.
You know, he's definitely somebody who plays the game differently, high IQ, and just make somebody that his teammates really love playing with. So, shout out to Lonzo and what he did.
All right, well, thank you guys. Thank you, Kenny, for coming.
Of course.
And pop on with us at any point.
Anytime. Let me know.
Now we're back with Quincy with our first draft of the season, presented by our friends at New Era. This is your first draft, Quincy. Trey thinks he's good at drafting.
Actually, he's not good at drafting. He's not good at drafting.
Everyone he is. He's like claims that he is.
He's not.
So our draft, we're going to draft annoying roommate characteristics in general. Quincy, you're first. I'm second. Trey's third. Then we snake it. So you got 5.
Why am I third?
You get the first pick in the second.
It's your show.
Stop complaining, bro. Golly.
AJ was always third. You're third. Like, stop complaining. You're the third pick.
Go ahead.
First round.
Some things never change, bro.
Yeah. So quickly, just so you know, I think you know already, but just so you know, you pick something and then we can't pick it.
Yeah.
So, but any annoying roommate characteristics, period, you're up first.
Messy.
That's an okay pick.
Messy is good. That's very broad, but it's like
no, it's just like what am I supposed to say? Like clothes all over the court?
He made his pick.
Yeah, it's messy. All right.
It's general.
Soccer player. All right, my first pick. Guests who stay too long.
Okay. That's a bust. That's a bust.
Why is that a bust? That's the most annoying thing of all time. If you have a roommate,
you can't kick them out yourself.
Yeah, but it's awkward. Like you don't want if you're non-confrontational. You don't want it's not your friend.
He made his pick. My turn now.
Go ahead, bro.
I'm gonna go with snoring.
Okay.
And then number 2, changing the thermostat and making the room hotter.
Ooh.
Thermostat's good.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't snore, but my issue with the snoring that you can't help. So I'm like, I feel bad a little bit.
You can't, but that's why you gotta like hit them and then,
Thermostat's crazy. That's a good pick.
All right, thermostat. I like that. The second one.
I got my second. Then
I ain't. Oh, I'll go last.
Yeah,
I got you.
Take it back.
Yeah.
All right, my second one is getting food on the couch and not cleaning it up.
That's bad.
I like that. I'm gonna go with my second pick. No headphones when on their phone, or like on the phone, like no headphones.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then third one, or my third pick, because I'm at the first pick of the next round. I'm gonna go. So did that. I'm gonna do eating out of my food without asking, touching my stuff without asking.
Yeah, fuck yeah, food especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to eat. So,
yo, what are we doing?
Did Trey do that? Did Trey ever do that?
Your turn, Tommy.
Yeah, see how he trying to chase this.
Your turn, Tommy.
All right, my third pick is killing the toilet paper and not refilling it.
Yeah, that's a good one. So for my third and fourth pick, I got leaving dishes in the sink.
Ooh.
And then
is that not messy? Is that not
the thing though? He can't do messy though. Like that's
that was my pick.
No, it's not. This is the problem with messy as a pick. Is messy can be like 9 different things.
Exactly. So it's a bad pick.
Though. Exactly. There were no rules.
Bad pick. Anyway.
All right.
That's so annoying.
Okay. Well, I asked for clarification after I made the pick, and y'all said move on. It's not my problem.
Can I make my last one or my fourth one, please?
Fourth one.
Yeah.
Go.
Drinking a drink and leaving not even enough for you to get like even a sip out. That is in the refrigerator. That's one of the worst things ever.
I like that.
Wait, a drink of anything.
Yeah.
Literally anything. Like it could be like some milk, and it's like you go to get the milk, and you go to pour some cereal. You go to pour in some cereal, and there's literally no milk.
Yeah, it's whack.
Bad.
All right, I got my fourth one. This is very specific to like, I feel like college and like if you live with people in like a house or apartment or something, it doesn't work if you're like on a team. But when you got like crazy parents, overbearing parents who come in and just like fucking try to make it their place, I feel like could be very bad. So I feel like from a roommate situation, in like 80% of the time, if you have bad parents, you got to move out because they're just going to be so annoying and it's awkward. It's like you just got to avoid awkwardness at all costs, basically.
I
All right,
like that.
2 more. Close it.
I like for my last 2 picks, like a roommate that's not good with communication, bad communication. So like, let's say you're having people over or just something that I should know about as your roommate and you don't relay that information. I think that is bad on the roommate. And for my last and final pick, I think this might be a sleeper pick, but leaving all the electronics on when you're like not turning the electronics off when you're like done. So like leaving the light on or leaving the TV on or whatever when you walk out.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that you're thinking about the environment.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm gonna comment. It's funny though because now it's just like I have my own crib. Like my parents will come over and they'll like leave a light on in the room and be like, turn that off. Then we go, yeah, turn that off. We ain't doing that.
He did this the other day. I was at his house and his mom was like, you did this your whole life growing up. You left shit on because you have to pay for it. And you get a house and within 2 weeks, you're bitching about the lights.
Yep.
You do what you want when it ain't your money.
Absolutely. Paying the bills. All right, my last pick is when you don't pay rent on time.
Oh yeah, that is a bad one.
I haven't had that problem, but that does suck.
That sucks.
For the final and best pick, I'm gonna go with just a straight up yapper. Like if they just yap all the time, don't shut up, can't be my roommate. Because I can't. I just can't.
Can you take examples on this call, maybe?
Hey man,
I ain't pointing no fingers.
All I got to say is a hit dog will holler. So you know who spoke first.
It was him.
All right. A very successful draft. Thank you, Quincy, for joining us from your shipping container.
Oh my God.
We will see.
That's an extra.
We will see you with these check-ins down the road. Best of luck and don't be a stranger.
Nah, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Hey, this was the first time I actually told Trey to like get me on something that he's been on, pause, and he actually did it.
You can't say that, bro. You can't say that, man.
Well, with that note, episode 2.
See you guys. Young man is pretty dope.